Climber. Songwriter contracts in Nashville are not the way they used to be. The industry has changed, and if you want to keep up with it, if you want to be a pro in today's industry, it helps to know what's going on. What are the pros up to? What are contracts like today? And that's what we're going to talk about today on The Climb. So buckle up. Johnny, do that thing.
Welcome to The Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. We've been doing this longer than most artists' careers on the podcast.
That's right.
That out there. But leverage is what you're going to need to get what you want in today's music business. It's not about your talent at first. They're not going to develop your talent. They want to develop your business. So that's why we called it The Climb, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a backstory from a good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who is a hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. He's got a couple number ones in the last few years on Southern Gospel, top 10 in Australia in the last year. I mean, this man's nationwide. He's worldwide. You can find what I love about Brent, though, is he helps songwriters like you become professional by teaching you and revealing how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then he puts you in touch with the pros. And that's with the pros. You get PROSE as well. Oh, you can find Brent at songwritingpro.com, guys.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S. There is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Hey, man. How you living?
What's up? Man, living, doing all right. Got Hazel back in school. She had her tonsils out. She was home between that and spring break for like almost 3 weeks. We survived. We survived the hurricane. We battened down the hatches. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. She's back in school finally. Woo!
Oh, so goodness. I had my tonsils out when I was like 4. It was brutal.
Yeah. So she's a trooper though. But that's going well. Just booked a flight out to Phoenix to see your boy, Josh Roy.
You did? Yeah. Oh, that's
well, I didn't book it. His manager booked it. But yeah, we got dates. We're going.
You're a baller. Yeah.
We're gonna try and write him some hits.
Now you're gonna get some of that Gilbert, Arizona love from the Petty Palace, man.
The Petty Palace sounds like me and my wife aren't getting along. Over to the Petty Palace, where all your old slights will be revived.
Dude, their place is amazing, man. You can't imagine what their kitchen looks like. I mean, their fridge, like, I think is like custom built or something,
Custom built fridge.
It's got 4 doors, right? And they got a huge stove that's like some kind of ridiculous thing. I mean, he's a former celebrity chef, the manager, Dennis Petty, for Josh Roy is what we're talking about, you guys. So he's had multiple shows on the Food Network. Him and his wife Diana had a show on radio for a number of years that was like really cool, and they've owned multiple restaurants over the last 30 years. And when they sold their last one in 2021 after the lockdowns, I think he just said, you know what, I'm gonna punt, I'm done with this. But like what we've been doing with this artist is flying, instead of bringing Muhammad to the mountain, which this is a bass backwards way it sounds of doing it, but we're bringing the mountain to Muhammad. Like we're bringing all the writers down to Arizona, because then we can get them for like a 3-day stretch, and we get a lot of writing done. It's kind of like a writing retreat, if you will. It's like 3 5-star meals a day. I mean, there's a pool, there's it's just a really, really, really nice place. And so I'm excited to see what y'all come up with. You and Jamie Grooms are going down.
Jamie's going down there. So they're flying us each down there, and we're just going to hit it hard for a couple days and y'all have dates going in the studio. So let's write in some stuff that he's going to cut and make some money for everybody, and everybody wins. But, actually, before we get to all of our other stuff, I think there's a little bit of a lesson here, because of course, I've been hearing about Josh from you for a while, and he's probably heard my name, but we had never met. Whatever. But then, last time I was in Nashville and he was in, I guess, I had a cancellation. I'm looking around to fill the co-writing spot. Could have
Yeah.
just sat on the porch. No, looking to fill a spot. Why? Because I'm there to work. And I mentioned it to you in the studio that night, and you're like, "Whoa, let me get something." And you got me hooked together with Josh and with Jamie.
Yeah.
So I'd never worked with either one of them before.
Total
And
last minute thing. Okay, so hold on, wait. First
yeah,
lesson was, instead of just pissing and moaning that you spent all that money, come to Nashville and you came there and somebody canceled on you, you
right.
turned around and said, well, what does this make possible?
I got to fill this spot. So I was sending out texts and emails to people going, "Hey, last minute opening, can you get together? Because, hey, I'm here to work." And Josh and Jamie were available. So we got together at your office and wrote, and he dug it. And so then the next night at the Freak Show, or I guess also in the studio that night, I got to meet Dennis and Diane Petty. And
Yeah.
so, we hit it off. Then we hung out at the Freak Show and after the write, and they really liked the song we wrote. And so it's like, you show up. We had a good write. Jamie and I showed up. We wrote a good song that Josh is digging. And then next thing you know, they're going to fly us down to eat 5-star food and write songs.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have happened, if I hadn't been in town, we
Number
wouldn't
one.
have hopped on, right? Wouldn't have hopped on if I'd just blown it off. So I'm going to go sit on the porch or whatever. Then
Number two, without the cancellation.
Right, cancellation. Showed up and did the best I could in the write, and it worked. And now it opens the door for more opportunity to do other things. So anyway, there's a lesson there. I think opportunity is attracted to activity. Show up, always do your best, look for opportunity. So anyway, little mini lesson there, hopefully.
Exactly. I love that, dude. And man, I can't wait to see what y'all come up with. So I'm glad that that'll happen.
I can't wait to take pictures of food.
It's
It's gonna be fun when Dennis is like, "Hey, do you have any food allergies?" I'm like, "Nope."
that's part of the questionnaire that comes with the booking the flight. You're like, hey, I need your full name that's on your ID. I need your birth date. I need your travel, your TKN number, and then also, do you have any food allergies?
Food allergies and favorite drink,
Dude.
Right.
They are like, it is
like
like
blowfish and coffee.
yeah. It's amazing, dude. It's going to be a great experience. They roll out the red carpet. They're such generous, amazing hosts, and it's a great place to write, man. You're right there by the pool. You're like, oh, let's get our head right. Let's jump in the pool and think about this. You know what I mean? They come back, and it's sweet. So I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it. Also, I just tell my kids, like, hey, some people are going to fly me out to Phoenix to do some work and to write songs for this artist and whatever. And they're like, oh, they're paying you to go down there? I'm like, well, they're paying for my trip, and then I got to earn my keep by writing good songs. And it was trying to teach my kids that, like, if you serve people and you serve them well, good things happen.
Yeah,
they're not doing that to serve me. They're bringing me out there to serve them. But in the process, I got to do something cool and
they
enjoyable.
are going to serve you, like, seriously.
Well, yes, but that's not why I'm being brought down there as favor to Brent. No, they're doing that to get his artist, moving forward in his career. And thankfully, they think that I'm a means to that end. Now, I win in the process. And that's what songwriting is. Like, they're trying to move their careers forward, the artist is. And if we can help them do that, we win along the way. So I'm all about some Josh Roy and writing him a hit. That's the deal. That's why I'm there. So
anyway. We got the opener now. You guys wrote that opener, that show opener. Mm-hmm. That's the killer show opener, man. Now I need some hit. Yeah, I need some big songs.
There we go. That's the goal.
So there you go. All right, so we are on the third part of our 3-part breakdown of Steve Leslie's article today, right? And we're going to talk about contracts.
That's right. So, man, for the last couple of my episodes, we've been breaking down this great article. The Steve Leslie, he's a hit songwriter. He's awesome songwriter. He's a buddy of mine as well. This was posted at Indie Music Academy, and it was basically songwriting in Nashville, 1992 to 2023. And he breaks down different stuff of it. So this is our third in the series on this. So Steve, thank you again for doing my show prep. But this one, we're going to focus on songwriter contracts and how they've changed a little bit over the past couple decades. So you can speed up on that a little bit.
Nice. Okay. Well, before we do that, let's take care of a little business here.
Mhm.
Join the C.L.I.M.B community. It's at facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M.B community. Super easy to get in. But you have to ask to be let in. And then we come around, let everybody in.
Mhm.
Um, and you just got to be good citizens of the community, right? Like we want to
That's
hear
right.
all about your gigs, we want to hear all about your new music, we want to hear all about your wins, but we give you a place to do that in comments on certain posts every single week. Don't put it in the feed. The feed is for everybody. The feed is not for you, it's for everybody. So if you got something that's great, something you think is funny, something you think is inspirational, something you think is informational, then by all means put that in the feed, you know. But
Mhm.
you're gonna get a little spanking uh, if, if you put something in the feed that's like I'm playing, you know, South Albuquerque tomorrow, and we're all like, you
Right.
know, what? This isn't no.
No, we have a place for that. It's under Gig Alert. Comes out on Thursday mornings. You can add to it anytime, but it's under that post. If you're there,
That's
we're happy and we'll like the post. If it's anywhere else, we don't like it and we get rid
yeah,
of it.
very simple. So let's get some wins, man. What do you got for
Yeah.
wins?
So every Wednesday morning we have the New Heights post, and so we want to hear about your wins as a comment under New Heights. You can post anytime, but as a comment there. And so we're just going to share a few of these. Don't have time for all of them, which is a good problem to have. Starting with Sean Squires, it said played live for the first time in my life last week as a songwriter in Texas in front of 300 folks. Got to share the stage with the likes of Jim Beavers, Jeff Hyde, Neil Thrasher, and Paul Bogart. Nerve wracking to say the least. That is a strong lineup. There's a lot of hits with those songwriters. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. So, Sean, that is awesome. Sean's doing some good work too. I believe he is a co writer on one of the songs that just made our Play for Publisher event. And
good job,
so,
Sean.
good
Yeah,
job, Sean. I can't remember what song it is offhand, but it's on the list and the name rings a bell. So, look at it. And he's showing up again on my brain. So, good job, Sean.
yeah.
Let's see here. We have Tracy Lip. You know Tracy.
I love Tracy. Yeah.
Yes, said a metal band I work for called, is it Lordi or Lordi? Lordi. I'm going to call it Lordi. Lordi,
Okay.
Lordi. All right, Lordi asked me to star in
Another
their latest music video.
thing.
It came out this last Friday along with the new album. I co-wrote lyrics on all the songs. This is the 18th album I've done with them. Wow, relationship. The
Yeah.
album is called Scream Writers Guild. All of the songs on the record are inspired by horror films or something having to do with movies. Jane is inspired by Jane Mansfield, who died in a car accident. She's supposedly decapitated in an accident. Ew. My character is the freak in the black and white portions. So there you go, Tracy. Way to be a freak on film.
I think okay,
So,
I might be wrong about this. I might be
mhm.
wrong about this, but you know, when you're driving behind a semi truck,
Okay.
okay, just picture yourself driving behind a semi truck, and you see the doors on the trailer, right,
Okay.
on the back of that big long trailer for a semi truck, and then below that, there's this big bar.
Yeah. Hmm.
I believe that is there because of the Jane Mansfield accident. I think they call that a Mansfield bar because I think she got decapitated by running up the back of a semi truck, and that the bottom of that door is right about, you know, neck level. So after that accident, they made a safety code change, you know, nationwide, where all tractor trailers have to have that bar on it so that your car gets wrecked, but your head doesn't get taken off.
Wow.
I might be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. That just made me think about that. But
The
yeah,
more you know, the
here
more
you
you
go.
know. So
We need that little musical thing there.
that's right. All right. Sorry, Jane. All right. We ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, hey, follow the podcast wherever you consume podcasts, and tell a friend about it. Right? Tell a
That's
friend
right.
about it. Invite them to the climb community. Bring them in, man. We want to talk to everybody.
That's right. All right.
Let's do it.
So this is Steve Leslie again. He's a hit songwriter. He's a pro songwriter. He's an excellent teacher, great musician. He's an indie artist on his own right. A lot of cool stuff about Steve, and he and I've written a bunch of fun songs together. So this article for Indie Music Academy talks about how he moved to Nashville in 1992, signed his first staff songwriting deal 2 years later with EMI Music Publishing. At the time, there were over 30 record labels and 200 publishing companies, large and small, employing over 4,000 signed songwriters. And so most of the people he worked with at the time were, true songwriters, not even artist writers like it is today. So he breaks down this. It's a lengthy article. I mean, long enough to get at least 3 podcast episodes
Come
out of. You know
on.
what I'm saying?
Come on.
And so this one, maybe a little short. We're going to talk about a typical 90s songwriter contract and then talk about kind of more what it's like today. And so that way, hopefully, and a lot of people ask, have asked me like, hey, what's a typical songwriter's contract? Well, there's not really a standard one. Everything's negotiable. It all depends on the leverage and the situation of the publisher and yourself and all that good stuff. But according to Steve, here's a typical songwriting contract from circa 1994 to 2004. And so this is similar. I signed my first one in 2005, but so this says exclusive rights to all songs written during the term belong to the publishing company. So to break that down in songwriter words, everything you write while you're signed to them, they own your share of that. They don't own your co-writer's share. They don't own your mama's share. They own your share of what you write during the term of the contract. So if you're there for January 1 to December 31st, everything you write during that time period, they own the publishing. Publishing basically means ownership. Okay, so all right. So another part is Schedule A is required upon signing. So Schedule A is the list of songs that you are bringing into the deal. So they're the ones that got you the deal in the first place, plus all the ones you wrote in high school. All right. So Schedule A, it's because on the contract, you have the paperwork, the contract, and then they add schedules onto the back of it. And Schedule A is typically the songs that you wrote before the deal that you're bringing into the deal, so that you're like, hey, this is part of this deal, and so this publishing company can work this deal. So when I signed with Major Bob, they're just like, what have you written? Put it on the list, with the name of the song, your co-writers and percentages, put it on the list, and then get us the CDs or tapes or whatever it is at the time, or links to everything so we have copies of it. I was like, do you want to sit down and go through these and see which ones you want? They're like, no, throw it all on there. We'll figure it out later. I'm like, okay. And so that's what we did, like 100 songs or 200 songs, whatever. I don't remember how much were on mine, but so that's what you wrote before your deal. That's going to become part of your deal. So they own everything that you write during the deal. And this is stuff that you're bringing into the deal that's going to become part of that deal. And so they can own that and work that as well. Schedule A. That make sense?
No, I'm a little confused. So
okay.
So let's take, before you got your deal with Major Bob, you had Monday Morning Church. Are you saying Monday Morning Church was not put on the Schedule A?
That one was actually not. I carved that sucker out. I said, "No, I'm keeping that one." So
Schedule A means this is everything written before the contract started, but you're going to give them ownership of that in exchange for them working the songs and trying to generate and trying to what they call exploit the copyright. Right.
Yeah.
And in this case, exploit is a positive term.
Yeah, I like the term that Amanda Williams, I don't know if she coined it, but she used it. She says, employ the copyright. Yep. They like to employ the copyright. I'm like, that's a much better word than exploit.
Yeah.
We're going to employ that copyright on that
exploit,
song. But
I think of like little kids and
yeah, I do too. I think nothing good.
It just doesn't sound good.
Employ. I'll employ a kid. Sure. There you go. But anyway, so yes, so it's a list of specific songs that that you've already written, that the publishers has, hey, bring that in. Because that way you can hit the ground running from day one. They have songs. If you have no Schedule A, you start off of day one, they got nothing to pitch for you. You got to write, record, you got to get all this stuff going. So that you lose a lot of time on the front end while you're building your catalog. And so that makes it more attractive if you have a strong Schedule A to bring into your deal. Because you're like, hey, I got these songs. You love these songs. This is why you want to sign me. And you can have them if you sign me. So that's one thing that sometimes people have a hard time with if they jump right from one publishing deal to another, is they have no Schedule A, right? Because they went from one deal and the last song they wrote,
the first deal.
Yeah. And there are things with Schedule A's that you can, and I've done this, going, okay, at the end of the deal, I get my Schedule A stuff back.
Yeah.
Right. Because you didn't pay me to write those. I didn't get a bonus to bring those in. And if you have enough leverage, you may say, okay, you want these Schedule A songs? Cool. I want a signing bonus, basically, to bring those in. But most of the time you don't do that. So he's like, I brought them in so you could work them, and if you get them cut, you keep them. If you don't get them cut, I want them back at the end of the deal.
Yeah.
Now there may be carve-outs going, hey, if it's on hold, we get to keep it for 6 months. That to see if we got you the hold, then we got to hang on to that to see if it comes to fruition, and if not, it comes back. So there are all these little things, little ticky tack, variances and nuances and stuff. But general Schedule A is the stuff you wrote before the deal. You're going to bring into the deal, and I would definitely recommend putting a trigger mechanism in place that you get those back after the deal's over, because they didn't pay you for those songs.
Right.
You did the work.
Fair.
You paid a demo.
They're going to get an opportunity to work them.
Right.
And the ones that they converted on, hey, man, you get to keep them.
You earned it.
You earned it. And the ones that you don't, hey, give them back to me. We're still, it's an amicable split. And I'm moving on to the next deal. And now you've got a Schedule A to bring to the next deal.
Yeah. And so that helps. Like I have some of the songs that I wrote before Major Bob came into my Schedule A, and they've reverted back to me since I left that deal. Some of those I took into my next deal with Pure Music and RPM. And the ones that didn't cut from that, they came back to me. So I'm carrying these old songs.
And I think that, hey, this is an important thing that he's saying right now, guys, that Brent's talking about, because you know what? It's in the publishing company's best interest, if you don't know any better, to hold on to the songs. Because if, 2 publishing deals from now, all of a sudden you light up on fire, right? And then everything that you've written in the past now is going to be put under a lens, and they're going to look at that. What is a Brent Baxter? Oh yeah, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
And so, all of a sudden they can go, and I'm not saying this like in a bad way or a sleazy or a slimy way. It's not, but it's just like, it's up to you to know the difference, right? If you're publishing deals down the road and you schedule everything on the first publishing deal and you didn't get it back, and you hit on the third publishing deal, and then you kind of blow up as the writer, you become hardy, right? And everybody wants to work with you, and everybody wants to listen to your songs and all this stuff. Well, that first publishing company now is going to go to town employing those copyrights, which is, hey, that's a good thing. I mean, it's going to make you money, but at the same time, it's like it that could help you with the next publishing company. It's not helping your current relationship. It helps you, but it's not helping your current relationship, and it's just a little, I think that'd be a little aggravating for.
Oh yeah. Well, especially considering they didn't pay you for those songs during the time that you were writing. It was pre-existent. Yeah. So you can carry it with you, and it may make it easier to get that next deal, because you do have Schedule A to bring into the next deal. You have stuff that they can work from day one on that next deal. And so it just makes sense.
And not only that, there you go. Like if you hit that thing and then all of a sudden your contract comes up and you get a better deal offered, right? All of a sudden all of a sudden you go up from something like a Peer or a Major Bob's to Sony ATV or Warner Chappell, a major one. And you're going to be like, you can get a much better deal with that Schedule A, right? Because maybe you've blown up and now you've got that leverage to say, you know what, I do want a big stinky signing bonus if you want these songs too.
Yeah. Leverage.
So, it's if you're not thinking about this along the way, you could have all those songs written, have the accolades and have the brand name as you blew up, but then miss a huge chunk of money because you didn't put one little line in your contract for publishing.
Yeah. So that's just something that they're not going to fight you on that. They shouldn't. They're like, go ahead. But that was, so that's, again, this is like 90s to early 2000s pub deals. Normally it would be.
You know what, one final thing. They're not going to fight you on it, but they're probably, not going to remember to bring it up.
Right. There's a lot of that kind of thing. Yeah. So the term of the deal, how long is a deal? So according to Steve here, 90s, it was typical. It was called a 2+1. So 2 years upfront, like 2 years guaranteed, with the publisher having the option to renew you for another year. So that's what we call it 2+1. You get 2 guaranteed plus 1 publisher option. It's the publisher's option, not your option. So you're both locked in for 2 years, and then the publisher can decide unilaterally whether or not to keep you for another year or not. It's not your choice. It's their choice.
Right.
And then after that, you're a free agent, and you both have to decide, hey, do we want to continue this relationship or not? You become a free agent at that point. So 2 years upfront plus 1. So there you go. So like, okay, I got this stuff coming in, this draw or this whatever, for 2 years. Demo budget. A demo budget of $500 per song, split between you and your publisher. So overages were charged to your account. All writer share of the demo costs were recoupable from all royalties except for the writer share of performance income through like BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC. So we'll break that down. So demo budget. So you have maybe your draw, and we'll get to the draws in a little bit, but how much you get paid, per month in advance against future royalties. And then you also have a demo budget that you may in some of my contracts, like here's what your yearly demo budget is X amount of dollars. And so, okay, so that's kind of like, okay, because that's money that the publisher company is going to put out up front for you to demo songs, and which normally, if it's their money, they get a say so. So you got to get prior approval to spend their money on demos. And so you kind of have a budget per song or total budget bank. So that's like 500. So if it's $500 per song for your share, then your publisher says, we'll eat 250 and the other 250 is recoupable. Meaning when you start making money, we're going to get that 250 back for the demo from wherever the money comes in, except for performances. Yeah. So that's mechanicals like CD sales at the time in the 90s, that kind of stuff. We get that 250 back from that $500 demo. We'll eat the other 250, partner on that. So that's how demo budget goes. And you'd have to get, and we talked about demos and that process on my last episode.
Quick question about the demo budget.
Yeah.
So typically, in the 90s, it's going to be one other writer. We talked about that 2 episodes ago. So they're going to have a $500 demo budget. So your total budget's $1,000 for the song.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be something like that. Yeah. And always some variation, but basically that. So your share would be 500, and of which the publisher eats 250, and you're recoupable on 250. And that's per song.
I was just thinking, like, how much are they spending to record the song? And that's going to be like $1,000 if it's 2 writers.
Yeah, man. For me, that first deal, again, 2005, 6, and 7, it was pretty targeted, like around $800, but I had something get above 1,000 before. Yeah. And so, and you just talk that out, you get approval. It was all pretty standardized too, unless you're bringing in extra singers and a bunch of overdubs or whatever. Alternate mixes.
So if you had, let's say it was costing you $800 to cut your average song, which is that's about right. It's what Kelly and I were charging in 2012. Like $850. And we weren't even the cheapest guys in town. I mean, you had what's his face, Larry Beard. Larry Beard charging $600. But if you had that, then
you got to add on singers and that kind of stuff too, so it gets up there. But anyway,
that's true. That's only for the track. You're right. Yeah. You're right. So, and then the mix, you got to add on the mix and the, and the singer. So, all right. So let's just say it's like, I guess you're going to creep up to, you're going to get up to 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go on.
Does that your question? All right. All right. So
do the math in my head on the total dollar math. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's adding on to your recoup thing. So let's see what else. Oh, minimum song delivery commitment or your quota. What's your quota? If you hear somebody say, hey, you got a quota with that deal, that means it's a number of songs, fully written compositions that you have to turn in. And so this is
and that are accepted.
Yes, they may say of acceptable commercial quality. And so what this is kind of where they hold you accountable. Like they've put themselves on the hook for an advance, a dollar amount each month that they're going to pay you, and they own everything you write. Well, guess what? You better write some stuff, right? So this is kind of what protects the publisher from you just sitting on your butt and not doing anything, right?
Yeah, remember
and just going, I'm just collecting the money.
Remember when you were in college and you blew off that big essay that you had to do, and then literally the night before it was due, you spent up all night just trying to, hash something together.
Yeah.
You can't do a publishing deal like that. You can't.
Right. They don't want a bunch of quota songs here the last month. You're signed January through December, which it doesn't necessarily go on calendar years. I'm just using that for simplicity's sake. You got signed January 1. You don't turn any songs in until December, but you're collecting checks every month. And all of a sudden, you, turn in X amount of just crappy songs you wrote in one day, and you're like, there we go. First of
Yeah.
all, if you're that kind of person, I don't know how you ever got a deal in the first place, and you're not taking it seriously. So shame on you. But I don't know, whatever you say on the first, you spend your first draw check, your advance check on drugs, and then you're hooked and you don't write any more songs. You're just living in the gutter where you still got your drug check from your advance, maybe something like that, but like, so what this does is the quota protects the publisher, so they can put you in breach of contract. You don't turn your songs in. And so I've seen contracts that say, every quarter, you have to have a quarter of that quota turned in. That
Yeah.
way you don't wait till December,
Yeah.
month 12 to turn everything in. And if you don't turn it in, they can keep your draw check. You don't get paid anymore if you're not turning stuff in. So back in the 90s, the quota was 12 wholly written songs. Wholly written songs means 12 full copyrights, or the equivalent of 12 full copyrights a year. And again, like you said, Johnny, most of this in the 90s, you were two writers on a song. And so you turn that song in, that, let's say Steve Leslie and I wrote a song. And we did. So I turned my song that I wrote with Steve into Major Bob. That would count as half of a wholly written composition as far as toward my quota, because they only control half of it. Steve and his publisher at the time controlled the other half. So it only counts as half a song. So if it's 12 wholly written songs a year and you do everything 50-50 co-writes, that means you better turn in 24 songs or song titles to reach that 12.
Yeah.
So there you go. If it's, all three ways, then it's 36 titles in the year to reach 12.
That's 3 songs. No, it's 6 songs.
Three ways to equal one fully written composition. Two ways to read it. One. So yeah, math. And so, okay, so 12 wholly written songs a year. That's only one a month.
Yeah.
So quota has never been an issue for me. I don't know of anyone that's an issue for, because if you take it seriously, it should not. You should be writing way more than your quota, because this is a serious business. Go get after it. But again, so it's mainly just to protect them, so they can hold you in breach of contract if you literally just blow them off and decide not to do anything and not do your job. They can go, okay, you're breach of contract. Our 2+1 just became done, and we don't have to pay you anymore if you draw. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. But 12 wholly written songs a year. So if you ever talk to someone about quota, that's what that's talking about. All right, advances or a draw, like, hey man, you getting an advance? Are you getting a draw? That same, 2 words for the same thing. It's paid by the publisher to the writer. So this is like your monthly, I'm just used to calling it a draw. And so what they pay you to live on, so that you can focus on writing songs. That's basically what that is. It's an advance against future earnings.
Money too.
It's not a lot of money. Back then, Steve says it ranged from $12K to $15K, so $12,000 to $15,000 a year.
Yeah,
for your draw. So that's supposed to help you, get a couple of roommates, and now you can just write songs as much as you can and try to get them hits. And then when you get those hits, then they recoup from mechanicals, which is record sales. And then that money that comes in, so say you earn $1 in royalties because you get a cut on a Clint Black record, because this is the 90s. And the first dollar that comes in, mechanicals off his record sales, off his album, the first dollar that comes in, the publisher, and this is a standard, the publisher owns all the publishing. So they keep all the publisher share, which would be 50 cents off that dollar. And you would get all the writer share, which is 50 cents on that dollar. But they've already paid you in advance and some demo budget. So that first $50 that comes in, 50 cents is going to go to them for the publisher share. And that 50 cents a writer share is going to go to the publisher to pay them back for what they've already advanced you for your monthly draw and your demo budget.
And if it's a co-write, then it's 25 cents.
Well, I'm just saying the dollar that comes in to the publisher, but yes. So that would be, if it's a 50-50 co-write, $2 is earned. $1 goes to the co-writer,
the dollar to the
and then $1 that comes into the publishing company.
That's a better way to look at it. You're right.
So basically, you don't make any money. Say in the 90s, you didn't make any money above your draw off royalties until they were recouped, until you were recouped, until the publishing company made back the money they advanced you and invested in you. So they get their half and they get your half until they are paid back for what you owe them. So that's recoupment. And back in the 90s, they would not recoup off public performances or the performance monies. So your PRO money, your ASCAP, your BMI, your CSAC. So if you had a Tim McGraw hit on the radio, then you're still getting your performance shares, even if you're unrecouped. So your publisher, so for the first 100,000 that comes in, your publisher is going to keep 50,000, for their publisher share because they own all your publishing, and you're going to get 50,000 off your writer share, even if you're still unrecouped. So you may still show a balance because, say, maybe Tim hadn't sold that many records or whatever, but it's a big hit on radio. Like, you could still be unrecouped as far as advances and demo budget.
Well, how about this?
But everyone's made money.
Let's say you got a cut on a Tim McGraw record that wasn't a single.
Right.
That wasn't a big hit on the radio, but he's playing it live on this tour.
I think you would only get paid on the mechanicals. Of course, that depends on your particular deal, but it was common they would only collect from mechanicals, not performances. And there was no digital at the time. Right, so they wouldn't touch your ASCAP, CSAC, or BMI money. Right. So even like ASCAP would send your writer share directly to you, and they would send the publisher directly to the publisher. Like, they wouldn't even get their little grubby hands on it to pass it through. They just nope, send it separately. But then all the mechanical money that would come in from the label, that goes to the publisher. And then the publisher would divvy up publisher share and writer share. And then, if you're unrecouped, they keep your writer share to pay them back. If you are recouped, then the publisher share flows on, or the writer share flows on to you. So you have to be recouped to start making money above your draw or performance money.
That's right. So let's just break down the math on that. You go 2 years in, right? Let's say it's December of your second year.
Yeah, and you're getting 12,000 a year, so that's 1,000 a month. 24 grand. And say you
plus demos, right? Plus probably, let's say, 24 demos at $250 a pop, right?
Yeah, well, let's just say a total amount of say 24, 10 grand in demos. So that's 34 grand that you are unrecouped.
Yeah.
Say you've not brought in any money from royalties.
Yeah.
So you owe them your 34 grand unrecouped at the end of those 2 years.
Yeah.
And so it gets to the point where, they're looking and going, do we fish or cut bait? This is the end of the 2 years. Do we want to pick up this option or not? Because remember, we talked about a 2+1. So they're guaranteed for those 2 years. But toward the end of that second year, they're looking, going, do we want to renew this cat for another year? He hadn't running anything. Do we want to invest another year thinking something to pop, or do we want to cut them loose? And by the way, if they cut you loose, like at the end of your deal, they keep everything that you wrote during your time with them while they were paying you. So they're going to keep that regardless. And they'll continue to work it because they want to get cuts. And at that point, it doesn't matter that you're with them or not.
On their investment.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so they're going to be figuring that out. And so then in that case, the first 34,000 that comes in of writer share is going to go pay them back. And they'll continue to collect on your writer share on those songs long after you're gone, because they own it. So eventually, you hope, even if it's afterwards, you get recouped, and then you start seeing checks from them again. But that's down the road, and you don't want to get to that point. You want to go get some cuts and make you money.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So that's a lot of stuff. Any questions about kind of the 90s and early 2000s? And then we're just going to kind of break some of this out for the more modern songwriter contracts. All right. So the first thing is that, this is according to Steve here, typical first-time songwriter contract provisions are much the same as before. So there still has a lot of that same stuff in there, except for like a small bump in pay, but really probably not one that stays ahead of inflation, especially inflation lately. But things can get interesting if you're also assigned to artist, if you're the producer or someone who has written a bunch of songs with an artist of interest, like, with a known artist. What do we call that? We call that leverage. So if you have leverage, you can demand a bigger draw, or you may not need one. You may go, I got money coming in. It's cool. I want to keep my draw low. Why would you want to keep your draw low? Because it gives you more leash, less to recoup. And so
more runway and
more runway to make something happen before they go, do we need to cut them loose or not?
Yeah. If it's 2 years down the road, if it's a 2+1, if it's 2 years down the road, and they haven't made any money off you, but they've got a lot of songs that they're working that got some activity and stuff, but they haven't spent any money on you, or maybe they're 5 grand in the hole as opposed to
Hmm.
35 grand in the hole, or 10 grand in the hole as opposed to, hey man,
Yeah.
yeah, let's sign them on for another year. Like, like this isn't costing us that much to get another year of opportunities on a
Yeah.
songwriter that we already know is a great songwriter,
Yeah.
right? That we already believed in enough to sign. So you get another year of runway
Hmm.
working those relationships, getting those song pitchers, working your songs. That's a big deal,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So it's all about the leverage. Let's see here. What else? So if you've co-written songs with the artist, it might serve you better to forego a publishing deal and wait for your song to get traction and eventually start making some money. At that point, the publishers are going to come calling for you anyway, and you will have more leverage to be in a better negotiating position.
Hmm.
So it just makes sense, right? So a lot of the stuff is the same. They still have exclusive rights to what you write during the term. If there's a Schedule A, they want you to bring that in so they can have something to work from day one. It might be a 2+1 or it might be a 3+1, or maybe they go year to year. I mean, publishing deals have changed a lot these days because basically, I said at the beginning, there were over 30 labels. There were 200 publishing companies, large and small. There aren't nearly as many publishing companies now. There aren't nearly as many labels now. There's not nearly as much opportunity for outside writers to get cuts on songs. So publishers are much more about trying to get you in the right room than they are about trying to get your song in the right room. They're trying to get you in the right
Yeah.
rooms.
Yeah, because I mean, let's break this down. Like, let's say you write a deep cut on like a Dixie Chicks songs in the 2000s, right? On a
Mm-hmm.
Dixie Chicks record, and let's
Yeah.
say that record sells, it's a biggie, right? Well, just not even the Dixie. Let's say it sells 1 million copies. It goes platinum,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the 90s, it was like, everything went platinum, right? Like it just
Yeah.
going crazy. So it sells 1 million copies, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the single. So they're not making the publishing money off the radio. They don't have the big cash in there.
Mm-hmm.
But what was that deep cut worth that wasn't a single?
I can tell you.
Yeah.
So, well, it depends on what the
From that.
statutory rate was. Say at what point in the 90s. Let's say 9 cents per album sold. So somebody buys a Dixie Chicks CD at Walmart, and every song on that record just generated 9 cents each for the writers and publishers to be split between
Mhm.
writers and publishers. So let's just say you solo write. Let's keep the math a little simpler. Solo write. So you have one song on a Dixie Chicks record. Somebody bought it in 1995, whenever they came out. And all right, so you have one song on there. Boom, your publishers are going to get 9 cents from the label, Monument or wherever they were at the time. And so that 9 cents, and now 4.5 cents is publisher share. Thank you. 4.5 cents is writer share. So which can go to pay your
Times 1 million.
times 1 million. So that becomes 45,000 publisher
Yeah.
share, 45,000 writer share. So man, people could make good livings and keep
Yeah.
deals and get good draws just by having album cuts in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
This ain't the 90s.
Right.
Not
Now
anymore.
it's all about that. Now you got to write the single,
Now you got
man.
to write the single. That's where the money is,
That's
because
where the streaming money is going to be. That's where.
well, and streaming money is still, I mean, yeah, that's where the money is as far as streaming goes, but it still ain't great, right? It's still terrestrial radio is where the big bucks are made.
Yeah.
Now people aren't selling records, right? They're
Yeah.
not selling mechanicals. Nobody's going platinum, or almost nobody. So you're not going to make that 45,000. And now the statutory rate has gone up, but still you're not making the money you were off record sales or vinyl
Yeah.
sales. It's just not what it used to be in the 90s. So
Yeah.
you got to get spins, baby. You got to get spins on radio. You got to get spins. You got to get a ton of digital stuff to amount to anything. It's just
Mhm.
really hard. So that's changed the math for publishers. Going, gosh, okay, we got to get singles. We can't just live off album cuts. We got to write the singles, and that's been tough on writers because now we're not as worried about writing that great song that's just really cool, but could be an awesome B-side kind of thing. It's like, okay, we got to write a single. You just said that for Josh earlier
Uh-huh.
this episode. We need some singles. Yes,
Well,
you
and
do.
I'm also approaching this from. I mean, look, if you go back over time and you look at albums as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot. It was like the norm, the industry norm. Let's be real. Like 99.99% of all albums was like 2 hits and a lot of filler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every friggin' Rolling Stones record,
Mm-hmm.
like, had 1 or 2 really good songs on it, and I love all the songs from the Rolling Stones, but those other ones didn't compete with, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with some of the big ones, man, didn't
Yeah.
compete with Brown Sugar. Like, so, um, then you look at a producer like Mutt Lange, when he comes in,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Man, let's just keep going
Mm-hmm.
until we get every song is like, let's try to make all the songs on the album a single so that you have a band like Def Leppard can happen, or a band like AC/DC can happen, where they've got 5 or 6 releases that are hit songs off
Mm-hmm.
of one album, and that's how
Yeah.
you sell 10 million records,
Yeah.
because the songs, the frickin' same content from that album is on the radio for 2 years or
Mm-hmm.
more, and they just keep releasing, and you can go that deep because the songs are that good.
Yeah.
And that's the way, I mean, that was, Mutt Lange, 1980, right?
Mm-hmm.
With I mean, he did Highway to Hell. That was the first one he did with AC/DC, and then he did Back in Black after Bon Scott died, and then
Mm-hmm.
he did Pyromania. When he did Pyromania with Def Leppard, I mean, that was the game changer, right? Like, everybody's like, "Oh my god, there's like 5 singles or 6 singles on this."
Yeah.
It's not I don't hear a single. It's like fighting over which one should go
Yeah.
first. And they did it again with Hysteria. This is by design. Didn't Shania Twain do that?
Yeah.
With, like, so this is, but now, because it's all singles and there are no mechanical sales, it's like that's the way you got to think about it, as
Mm-hmm.
like an executive producer, somebody looking over an artist's career, like, okay, man, I need this song to work on Spotify. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the money, Spotify's not breaking artists, but the money is on Spotify, even as crappy as it is that we're talking about. Still, that's where all the labels are getting their money right now.
Yeah, well, that's label side. They
Yeah,
have a different deal than publishing because they get a better
true,
deal than publishers do. So
true
for
that.
writer side, it's like, oh boy.
But still there, like, so, the ability for, and we're talking to indie artists here, the
Mm-hmm.
ability for an indie artist to be on, to be considered seriously by the Spotify people or Spotify algorithm for an editorial playlist, the pre-runway playlist that's going to get you to the big playlist, and then the post-runway, the landing playlist that's going to get you after you come off the big
Mm-hmm.
playlist, where you can get 2, 3, 4, 5 million streams,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is making everybody more money, man. That's all about your popularity score and how well that song does,
Yeah.
how many skips, how many saves, how
Mm-hmm.
many 100% listens. Like, they're looking at it from a data standpoint. So,
Yeah.
that song's got to rock, man.
Yeah. So it's and getting back to like the publishing deal aspect of it. So there aren't as many publishers. They have to be much more mindful of the money that's going out, because if you're not getting singles, it's hard to get money coming in. And so there's a lot more writer artists.
Mhm.
So they can put out their own stuff, and they can get some money coming in. There's producer writers that are getting, because again, it's that leverage is when they're trying to get you in the right rooms. It sure helps if you're the artist, then automatically you're much more the right room that people are trying to get in with you. And so it's that sort of thing. Draws, I think, are if you can get a draw, right?
Yeah,
So
if you get one.
exactly. Some people may just get just cover my demos. That's all I need. Because I either I gig out or I do other stuff for the money. Just cover my demos, so I don't have to write the check for that, and then we'll
Yeah, I
split
don't
it.
want to come out of pocket for this
I don't
deal.
want to come out of pocket for this, and then you cover the demos, and then we get split. Whatever you get cut. So there are all kinds of ways of doing deals now. I think it's a lot more flexible than it used to be, because publishers just don't have the money to shell out,
Mhm,
except for the people that are really more just the better risk,
mhm.
bringing the money in or have that leverage to do that. And so it's not like it used to be. There are a lot more of like pitch to earn kind of things, like, oh, I'm signed somewhere. Are they paying you a draw? Nope. Maybe they don't even pay maybe it's just really more of a plugger deal. They're not even paying your demos or your draw, but they'll pitch your songs. And if they get it, is like a pitch to earn. Like, if I can get a
Mhm.
cut, Yeah, I'm not charging you. You know, almost the only difference between them and an independent song plugger is independent song plugger charges you up front to have them work your stuff. And that's how they make their money. Plus, if they get cuts, they may take some publishing share or not, depending on the deal. Some of these publishers like, tell you what, I'll work it for you. And if I, but I'm not going to charge you, and I'll try to get you in good rooms, that sort of thing. But then if we get cuts, then I keep publishing on it. Or maybe I just keep everything during this deal and I try to get a cut. So they're all kind of variations of that. But what it comes down to is get leverage, which means write great songs, get in good rooms, start making your own money, and publishers will come sniffing around because they want to make money. And if you're the means to that end, I think we talked earlier about service business.
Yeah.
If you can help them make money, they want to shake your hand. They want to get to know you. They want to help you help them make money.
That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage
in the music business. That's
get
right.
Get some leverage, and all the people you want to work with are going to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Heck, we got a deal for you.
And I would say that even having a deal, Steve had mentioned in the same article that most of the people he wrote with had deals. Because why would you not? Those are the cream of the crop. Those are the pros. That are people having teams around them. Yeah. I don't think it's as big a deal that you have a deal now, because there's so few deals to be had that it's not even, I don't think, now it's definitely a feather in your cap. You're like, yeah, I'm signed somewhere for sure. Raises but it's not a deal breaker because, I'm self-published. I've been self-published for a few years now. Yeah. And most everyone I write with actually has deals. So it's not prohibitive that if you don't have a deal, you can't get in the club to write with people that have deals. No, if you're good and you bring good stuff to the table and help them make money, hey, they'll, I have publishers that set me up with rights. Yeah. Even though I don't have a publisher representing me, I'm doing my song plugging. I pay for my part of the demos, and I'm the right guy for the room. They think so. So let's get Brent in the room. We'll get a better product out of it. So there's still opportunity there. But anyway, broad strokes is kind of what's been going on between publishing deals between the 90s and now. I have a gift for you for hanging in there with us for a little bit of a longer episode for me lately, but it's called 6 Simple Ways to Make Your Songs More Commercial. I've been getting good feedback on this. I was talking to someone the other day who was like, man, it's becoming like my Bible kind of thing of, going through there, and it's very actionable. But 6 Simple Ways to Make Your Songs More Commercial. It's a free PDF download. You can get it at 6simpleways .songwritingpro.com. Just go to songwritingpro.com and look up at the top. It says free gift, and you'll find it. And just tell me where to email it. We email it out to you. It's my gift to you, and it'll help you on your journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you, buddy. That brings us to the end of another Killer C.L.I.M.B episode. Make sure that you join the C.L.I.M.B community. Make sure you follow the podcast so you get all the episodes. You can kind of check them. And then finally, tell a friend about it. That's the best thing you can do. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
Oh, and also 6 Simple Ways. It's in the show notes. Keep on climbing. We'll see you at the top.